What we see is movies and social media, and neither of those things, if they're portraying like this perfect image of a relationship, neither of those things show the full picture. And people really forget that when they land into their real life's relationships, because suddenly they're faced with all of this disturbance and like, oh, this must be wrong, because why is there so much disturbance? This doesn't match the image on the TV or my phone, right? Happy festivities, everyone, if you're celebrating. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I don't have a plan for today's video. I just had some thoughts come in and decided to just turn the camera on and see where it goes. And hopefully by the end of this video it makes sense. I was thinking about the concept of the one, what we call the person that is the one for us, right? Romantic partner. And I was thinking about why specifically does the one not exist? I think there's still that desire to find the one. And I think it happens for many reasons. And I kind of want to talk about some of these reasons and also specifically explain and make sense of why that's not the case and what to do instead of look for the one. When we think about the one for us, first of all, I think the reason why so many women especially want to find the one or believe they have found the one, I think the desire to find the one is there because we want to feel a sense of belonging. Because if you think about it, when you say, oh, I haven't yet found the one, or he isn't the one, or she is the one, or he is the one, what we're really saying is that in some sense, this person was brought onto this world and was created specifically for me. The same way that I have been specifically created for them. That in itself implies that I am not whole in my own right, and I need that person to complete me. Now, as much as that idea has been very strongly romanticized, and you might think that that is the case when you look at certain couples that are very happy and they look like they have found each other, like they found the one for them, as much as it is very romantic, when we do start looking at it from the perspective of wholeness, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we have been put on this earth inherently being not whole in ourselves. Now, it's a different thing to talk about how the other person can add to our life, how they can bring out a lot of things in us. And those things can involve trauma imprints as much as they can involve a huge amount of love, right? Sometimes we meet people and we're like, I've never loved anyone like this in my life. And a lot of people think that it's that person that brought them the love that they've never had before. You cannot give someone emotions. You can only trigger them to come out. So if you are the one experiencing deep, deep love, it is your emotions that you're experiencing. They've always been there. Maybe they have been stagnant, maybe they have been sleeping for a while, maybe you have never felt them before because the certain locks have been rusty and haven't been unlocked for a while. But I can't come to you and put something in you as another person. I can only trigger something out of you, and I can trigger unpleasant things out of you, and I can trigger pleasant things out of you. But I cannot create something that isn't already there. So when you meet someone and it feels like a huge, huge love, without this awareness, it is only natural to assume that they might be the one, right? But as I said before, implying that someone out there is made for you as much as you are made for someone else inherently creates this problem of property, essentially. You know, the problem that they are my person. And the problem in that is that we forget that they have their own sovereignty and they have the complete right at any point to leave. They have the freedom to do that. The other side of this conversation that I want to mention is I believe personally that when people, let's say, women that go on dates and they date someone maybe a few times, and then suddenly that person does something that this woman doesn't like, and it's like a no-go for her, or it's a red flag or whatever it might be, and she comes back home and she calls up her girlfriends or tells her family or her friends, actually he's not the one, he's really not the one. When you use that kind of language in this instance, it's actually a type of irresponsibility or a lack of taking responsibility for your choice. Because really what you should say instead is that I don't choose this person to be the one. Or I don't choose this person to be with me, essentially. By saying this person isn't the one, it's almost like God, universe, whatever you want to believe in, fate, had predetermined one person for you. And it's like it's a game in this life for you to now find that person, that missing puzzle piece, right? That's how it sounds. That out of 8 billion people, or however many we have in this world right now, there's just that one person that the universe made for you, and it's your job in this lifetime to find them. And the second you face a red flag or see that they do something that is like, oh, that's weird, or I'm not sure about that, your mind tells you that that must not be the person for me. And so it's easier to say that they are not the one, rather than to say, this triggered me, and so I'm not sure I want to go back on another date with him, or this is a no-go for me, this is not right. All of which are absolutely fine. Like, you don't have to be with every single person you date. I'm just mentioning that as to express that side where potentially we're using this concept of the one and someone not being the one as a form of not taking responsibility for our choices, for our desires, for our standards, and trusting in those things. So if there isn't such a person as the one, what is there? Well, there are 8 billion people on this planet. And if we think of someone who is the one as like the most perfect match for you out there, and notice that I'm saying the most perfect, not the perfect, but the most perfect, then what we can really say is that there's probably a lot of people that are very compatible with you, that are suitable for you as partners. I mean, I don't know if people realize how many 8 billion people is. I don't know if people comprehend how big that number is. And so if you are someone who maybe have been alone for a while or never dated, and you're losing hope, or you have already lost hope that you can find love, I just want to remind you of how big that number is. And I'm pretty sure you haven't seen even the tiniest percentage of everyone in this world. So perhaps what you need to do is travel a bit, if you haven't found love yet. That's actually another interesting phrase, found love. We don't find it, we create it, but that's another topic. So we can consider that there is a lot of people that are very compatible to you, right? The reason I avoid saying they are perfect for you is because I think in today's world, we see this perfection as everything, there's no pain, there's no rupture, there's no trauma, there's no disappointment, there is no resentment, there is no sexless periods in our relationship. It's this is perfect. I promise you, every relationship has something in it, okay? And it is just a matter of, you know, are we having a lot of these issues and they take up the precedence in our relationship, and there's too much of it, or is there more good than that stuff, you know? And some couples are very blessed and lucky, and I think there is a reason for that. They're not just lucky, but there is a reason why they find someone that is very, very, very compatible to them. Otherwise, every relationship is work and it's not perfect. Not in the sense of perfect that this world likes to think, you know, because all we see is movies and social media, and neither of those things, if they're portraying like this perfect image of a relationship, neither of those things show the full picture. And people really forget that when they land into their real life's relationships, because suddenly they're faced with all of this disturbance and like, oh, this must be wrong, because why is there so much disturbance? This doesn't match the image on the TV or my phone, right? And I think that's where so many people struggle, and so many people go back to this like, oh, he must not be the one, because otherwise this wouldn't be happening in our life, right? Thinking about why people might struggle to let go of this idea of finding the one, because we long for a sense of belonging, and so to believe that there's someone out there specifically for us creates that feeling of like being less alone. And to help yourself through that, perhaps, you know, it's almost like you can think of it in the opposite way. If you consider that there isn't such a person as the one for you, that actually means there's a whole lot of people, in fact, anyone you meet, that you can consider becoming your partner, right? If they're compatible, if there is mutual, you know, attraction. And so in some ways that actually opens up a whole world of people for consideration, rather than thinking there is that one person and I just haven't found them yet. I almost feel like in some ways it can be limiting in going the opposite way in terms of its helpfulness as a concept. But the other reason why I think people might struggle to let go of this idea of the one is because of a fear of making a mistake. And it goes back to that part about responsibility taking, because when we think, well, they're the one or they're not the one, we're putting responsibility on higher forces, right? Like, to assume that there's one for us is to assume that there is an invisible force, you know, God, whatever you want to call it, that dictates whether someone is our person or not, right? And so if they break our heart, it's like or if we make a mistake and they turn out to not be the person we thought they were, we're not the one to blame, essentially, right? It's the God or universe or whatever that made this decision, and then it's, instead of making better decisions or thinking about how to make better decisions in the future, we just think, why am I so unlucky? Why am I so unlucky that I was given this person in my life? There's a lot more to be said about kind of the fear of making a mistake and how deep that goes. You know, it doesn't start with relationships. It starts way before that. Well, it starts with relationships, but not romantic relationships. And so perhaps this resonates. Just have a sit down and think about, you know, where are you with that? You know, what exactly is, you can call it a secondary gain of believing that there is that one person out there, because I'm sure I didn't cover all of it, but these are the kind of thoughts that came to my mind at this time. If that is a problem for you, if you are someone who recognizes that, yeah, actually I am scared of making a mistake and choosing the wrong person, and that is based on that idea that there is the right person, which is why then I can make the wrong decision, I would highly recommend unpacking that for yourself and exploring deeper roots of that problem, and that idea that you have, that somehow you can make the wrong decision, and what exactly that means for you. What exactly does that look like? What exactly are you afraid of when you are afraid of making a mistake? You know, what's going to happen? You can do like a 7 layers deep exercise where you go, well, what if that happens? And then you answer, and then you go, well, what then? What happens if, what does it mean if this happens? And then you give the answer, and then you say, well, what does it mean if that happens? And then you continue seven times, and it should reveal some interesting things for you. Thinking about all of this, concept of the one and finding the one, if we take that away and we just take it off the table entirely as a concept, then of course it can bring a lot of questions forward, like, well, how do I then choose whom to marry? How do I choose whom to spend my life with? And to be honest, the answer to that question is no different to if you were looking for the one, right? Because it's like, well, how do you know that someone is the one? I mean, maybe a lot of people go by just the way they feel around that person. I mean, it depends on what we consider feeling, but I wouldn't bet on that as the criteria how to choose a partner on its own right. I mean, you know, of course it needs to be a part of it. If you viscerally can't stand someone and you don't really even know why, I wouldn't recommend dating that person or being with them. So it's not like I'm saying feeling doesn't matter. I mean, if you follow my channel, if you're a subscriber, you'll know that I'm pretty much always coming back to feeling anyway, so it's not exactly true. But I'm coming to the realization in my own life that when you choose a partner, it's so much more than just how you feel. Because, very importantly, feelings change as you change. And feelings develop the more you put effort in. Okay, so that's why at one point in this video, when I said find love, I said like I put that as a little like a side note thing, because you don't find it. You don't find love. Like when you meet someone for the first time, you don't love them straight away. You might fall in love. It's like love at first sight. It's not love. It's lust and crazy attraction, and all of those things are fine. But love is something you develop as you get to know each other and you share common things in your life, and you share your life and etc. So feelings is something that can come and go. I've come to, you know, and I think about this a lot, of course, in my life, and I'm sure it preoccupies a lot of people's minds. Like, how do I choose my life partner, essentially? Or if I am with someone already, like, how do I know that they are, you know, the partner for my life? And you know, partially over time, your feelings will also be a good guide for that. But for me personally, I think someone who's right for you and who you can consider the one for you is out of all the people that are compatible with you, is the person that is willing to continuously grow with you. Because, you know, people say like, oh, well, you need to choose someone like based on what's important to you. Well, I don't know about you, but what's important to me has changed so much. Even in the last, like, especially in the last 5 years. If you're like in your 20s, I mean, I don't know, obviously I can't speak for like ages beyond my age, but up to my age now, and I'm 28, I have changed so much since my early 20s, since I was a teenager, obviously, as well. And so you can't, at the time of choosing your life partner, you can't say that, well, he matches what's important to me right now, and that's why I'm marrying them. I mean, you can if you want to, but what happens when you change? What happens when they change? Are you still going to be choosing each other, or are you assuming and are all right with divorcing, breaking up, if one of you changes. I mean, some people do that, but that's how you end up in a lot of different marriages, and there's no wrong with that. It's just, you have to accept that that's what's going to happen, right? It's a cause and effect. So if you want one marriage for life type thing, and so you're looking for the one, in my opinion, the best kind of category, the best condition, I guess, to look out for and also cultivate in yourself is the ability and willingness to change with that person. And it doesn't mean to be the same people. It simply means, okay, are we adaptable enough to accept our own changes and to help each other through our own changes, each other's changes, and still love them, and continuously learn how to love them in new ways, in different ways. So if I was to answer that question, and I'm sure many different people will have different answers, and of course you can go into very great detail, talking about compatibility, like what's important, what it even means to be compatible, like all of these things. Like I know that like you can go in great detail and really understand deeply how to find the right person for you, or a right person for you, rather, I should say. But for me personally, if I were to pick like one category, one criteria for how to find a life partner rather than the life partner, is to look for adaptability and develop it in yourself if you want a lifelong partner. Maybe I don't know if there's anything else to say really about this concept of the one. I guess one other thing I could say is recommend a book by Shelina Ayana. She's known as The Rising Woman on Instagram, and she's got a big following, I think 2 million followers, and she has a book called Becoming the One, and it's amazing. I have it as well. She's got a journal as well. I don't have that, but it's like a guided journal based on the book. For those who maybe want to delve a little bit more into that. But it's basically the concept that it's about the idea that there isn't such a person as the one, and the book really talks and delves into how to become the one for yourself, because you are whole in yourself. You don't need another person to make you whole, because what happens is when we become the one for ourselves, when we become the love of our own life, and it goes into detail of and exercises, like practical tools into how you cultivate that. When you become the one for you, you understand yourself. You know your patterns. You know your past. You know where you're going, or at least where you're heading, and what happens is when you cultivate all of that, you then attract a different kind of person into your life as well, and you can make better choices in your life, and it all comes together into this one puzzle. That book is great, and that I do recommend that to anyone interested in this topic. I think specifically about this, I'll probably finish here, because I think you can divert into so many different topics from here. If you've got any questions, if you want me to make a video on another topic related to this, on anything else, then let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video if you've enjoyed this information. And thank you so much also for such a huge response to my last video. It's got the most views I've had on this channel so far. It has the most likes that I've had on this channel so far, and I am past 100 subs, which I'm so happy about. Thank you so much, guys. I'm really grateful. It feels like a really amazing achievement and an amazing cultivation, that's not the right word, amazing, I can't remember the word, amazing crescendo to this year. And it feels like the cycle of this year has somehow completed itself. I think creating the workshop in Neurographica has helped that as well, to feel like I have completed the cycle of this year's work. And that has had such amazing response as well. If you haven't seen it already, check it out. It's available until the end of January, at which point I'm going to close it. It has amazing bonuses that are only available to people that are purchasing the workshop. It is something that you can do again and again and again. If you do it multiple times, you will sort of remember the process, and you can do it for many different topics. But this workshop specifically is to start repatterning your mind and your thoughts and your behavior, so that you can finally start to manifest the things that you want, you desire, your goals, your intentions for 2025. This is the topic of the drawing, but as I said, the method that we'll be using in Neurographica is, in this workshop, you can use it for any topic at all throughout the next year. So I hope you can come. It's tailored for beginners. You don't need to know anything about Neurographica. You don't need to be good at art. You don't need to consider yourself being a creative person, because it'll bring that creativity out of you. Like we say when I used to do yoga, people would say, oh, well, I'm not flexible enough. Can I do yoga anyway? Well, the point is, yoga is there to make you flexible, and it's the same with art. So art is there to bring out the creativity in you. So I really hope you check it out. It's amazing and people love it, and I'm so happy that people have purchased it and gave me amazing feedback already. And I hope you get to check it out too before I close it until next year, basically. And I will see you in the next one, probably in the new year now. Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year.